licensing manager for public libraries. And I'll quickly just give you a little background of how we developed this, what it is supposed to help with, and kind of the point of it. And then I'll give you a quick sneak peek demo of the website that has our streaming platform on it. Just for a little history, we have had a streaming platform that was available to K through 12 schools and colleges for a few years. Colleges even longer than that. K-12 schools also have an annual site license, just like public libraries do. And those were originally two separate products, educational streaming platform for them to use for movies in the classroom, and then our annual site license so they can show movies from fun classroom events. And eventually those two kind of merged together into one offering for K through 12 schools, because in schools they were starting to no longer have those carts that they roll out the TV on with the VHS player. They don't even have DVD players, and laptops don't have DVD players on them a lot of times. So they were looking for ways to access movie content. And that's kind of where those two merged together. Um, we took that existing platform that we had for K through 12 schools and college campuses and adapted it to be able to use in public libraries, because we did notice that physical media is starting to um, go away faster than probably any of us could have even predicted. We had two major movies that are covered by our license be released in the last few months that did not come out on DVD or Blu-ray at all. So that kind of accelerated us wanting to get this offering available for public libraries. Um, Killers of the Flower Moon and Boys in the Boat were the kind of those two bigger new releases that were not released on physical media at all. Those are covered by our license, so you can show those, but right now the only way to access them is through a digital download or digital purchase or streaming access. And obviously with those, you're having to use your personal account, and that's not always the best option in a public setting. So we adapted the streaming platform for public libraries to have that option to them as well, to get content for some of the movies from us directly, instead of having to rely on physical media or like a digital download or streaming from a personal um, platform. Now, in saying that, the way we set this up or looking to get this started, we're planning to do a full rollout in 2025 to make this available option for public libraries. And we are planning to give access for the remainder of the year for a free trial of the platform too, for any libraries that are interested in it. This version of the platform is going to have 100 titles accessible on it each month. Those titles are going to be selected to match different programming, holidays, new releases that are kind of meant to cover most of what will be shown each month. And those rotate monthly depending on the different programming or holiday needs. Um, and that's just kind of a quick overview. And now I will kind of give you a quick look at what the website looks like. All right, can you guys see that screen?
I can see it, Joe.
All right. So it's a very straightforward platform. The point of this platform is just to make it as easy as possible to access the movies. I will say that the platform is IP based, so it's actually going to be tied to the IP range of your library, which the benefit of that is it requires no login at all. You will just go to the web link that we provide you, and you will see this page when you go there, and it just has the 100 titles preloaded on it, and you can just click on a movie, click watch, and it'll start playing it. And the other thing I'll show you, once you click play, There are different audio options, and there are closed captioning or subtitles available for every title. Some titles also have alternate language options and alternate subtitle options for different languages too. Let me get. But yeah, and you'll see this is actually the catalog for November. And granted, we're still in the early stages of developing this, so I think the movies selected for each month will just continue to kind of get better and improve as we get libraries kind of started using this. But there will be some winter themed movies that are going to be on here starting in November and through December to cover some general winter programming like the Frozen movies, Home Alone. We have a couple Native American themed movies for that November, as well as some military movies from those holidays as well too. So you'll see like Smoke Signals, Spare Parts are on here. Um, we have the Thanksgiving horror movie, which came out this last year. If you're looking for something kind of unique to play for a Thanksgiving program for adults. And then there also are kind of a staple of just flexible movies. Because one of the things with this platform too, is we have gotten a lot of feedback that with the license currently, most libraries only show planned monthly movie events at the most. Some libraries only show 2 or 3 movie events a year. Um, what we hope this platform will allow you to do is to do more impromptu or short notice movie events, or even more than that, if there is an outside group that is renting a room in the library and say they're doing knitting. There's a knitting instructor who comes to the library every month and they do knitting classes at the library. There's been times where that person may have said, "Hey, can we put on a movie while we do this?" And currently with the license, you have to go to our website, confirm that the movie's covered, find that DVD or Blu-ray on your shelf, get them set up. This might provide an easier option where you can say, here, this website has 100 titles on it. You can click on one and watch that, put that in the background of your knitting program. Or if you're doing a holiday craft program, you could throw on Frozen in the background or Ice Age to just give the kids some activity and entertainment in the background while they're doing their craft or after school program. So we're hoping that having access to the movie, especially quick access that doesn't even involve logging in, you just go to the website and you can click play on one of 100 titles that are preloaded on here, will make it kind of a little bit more easy to access the content that's covered by our license and a little bit more flexibility, especially for outside groups. Well, it's kind of a quick overview of the streaming platform. And it will, all 100 titles on here are going to be covered by the annual license, so you won't have to worry about that. We'll never add something that's not covered by the annual license. We are going to have a place on our website where you can see all the movies that are going to be on the platform throughout the year. I should say almost all. We won't have new upcoming releases until we get a confirmed date for those. Um, and we'll also have where our monthly newsletter, if you get that by email, will highlight some of the titles that are coming up on the streaming platform. Um, it's going to have, like I said, a monthly rotation where those 100 titles will be substituted in and out depending on different programming and holiday needs. So we'll try to have it be more curated to what the programming needs that you'll have at your library. It's not going to have every title because it is limited to 100 titles. So you still, of course, are covered for other titles that aren't on this platform that you would just show in the traditional way that you're showing movies now. But we hope that this collection will cover a lot of the movies that you want to show and also allow for like those more impromptu, spontaneous movie usage that might come up at the library. That's just a quick overview of the streaming platform. Um, and what I really want to use most of the rest of this time for is for questions and feedback, because this is a new offering that we are looking to provide to public libraries. So as much feedback and questions we get now will kind of help shape this going forward.
Joe, if nobody has any questions, I would assume the $1 million question is the additional cost of this service in addition
Yeah,
to their movie license.
yeah, absolutely. We can definitely go through that. All right. So currently the platform, and like I said, we are offering a trial through the end of this year. So if your library is interested in just getting an actual physical trial of it where you can try using it in your library, all we need is the name and IP address of your library, and we can get you set up for access for this month and for most of December. Um, and then after that, the option to add it to your licensing, the cost is going to be, and this is in addition to the costs for your license, in the $400 to $500 range. I think it would be $400 for most libraries in this system. That would be the cost, and it would align with the dates of your licensing because these two are work in conjunction with each other.
So for the trial, would they have to already have a license?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, because there might be some libraries on today that don't currently have a license. So I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that's the one
Will
thing I'll
there
say
will
is
there be an option, Joe, for just paying for the platform?
no, the licensing is what will cover you for using the platform inside of the license, so they're kind of married together.
Mhm.
K-12 schools, like I kind of said, they initially launched these as two separate options. The reason K-12 schools could buy just streaming or just licensing is because the educational exemption that they have, where if they're using um, Romeo and Juliet in English class to show, to teach or compare and contrast the book versus the movie, they have an educational exemption where they can show part of that movie to get the educational portion out of it to do that compare and contrast. So that's why they could initially buy that portal just by itself. Um, Once we started to realize that almost every case they were using it was for entertainment, that's when they're like, oh, well, schools have this license. So if they have this license in place, they can use the platform to show Polar Express in December. Um, then those products kind of merged together. So now schools really just have the option to buy both together because so many times they were using the platform, it wasn't for educational use. Um, and with public libraries, that educational exemption only applies to K through 12 classrooms. So a public performance license is basically always needed for showing movies inside of public libraries, and that's why these two products will kind of always be sold together. All right, and I see we have another question. How far ahead will we know what movies are being offered for a given month? Great question. Yeah, so we are working on a cadence right now. Our current plan for the cadence is to let libraries know 4 to 6 months in advance. We're really trying to shoot for 6 months in advance. That's kind of our target, so that you can kind of plan your programs around what movies are going to be available on the platform ahead of time. Um, the only issue we're really running into is new releases because we don't get those dates confirmed until usually like a month or two before they're available. So if that causes an issue, I think what we're going to just do is leave a few slots TBD for different studios. So you may see in 6 months that we have 95 movies already selected. The other 5 are going to be new release slots that we're going to fill once we get those confirmed dates. And that will be relatively easy to plan for, because if you know a movie from Disney was released in January, it's probably going to be available on the platform around March, April, depending on the exact release. So we might have a Disney slot that's TBD, and that's going to be that new Disney release once we get it confirmed, availability date from the studio. That's kind of how that will work. So we will be planning to let you know what titles are going to be on the platform about 6 months in advance. That's what our goal is.
Joe, there's another question. Could individual patrons use this while in the library?
It's not intended for personal use, so like you wouldn't necessarily want to give it to a patron to just watch movies on a computer by themselves. There's not like hard restrictions on usage, because we do definitely want you to get the most use out of this platform as possible. But I would say it's more intended for just like with the license for group showings. So if a patron wanted to, like if you had students there after school and they said, hey, can we go in a meeting room and watch a movie? Like, sure, you could let them use the platform, so that way you know that they're watching a movie that's covered by the license, and they're, you could check which one they're watching and stuff like that. It wouldn't be free range to any movie in the library, including, potentially a movie that's not covered by the license. But yeah, that's kind of the intended usage of this platform, because it really is meant to um, provide access to content for the public performance license. But yeah, that's kind of the general information. And actually, I'll see, let me get this too. I'll show you right now what the December plan is for movies, because we have that. And we're working on finalizing the list for the first quarter of next year too. So we can kind of go through that too. That's not as finalized, but December is definitely ready. So I'll show you what that looks like.
While Joe is doing that, if any of the libraries are interested in the trial, reach out to me and I'll coordinate it with Joe.
There we go. All right, so here is just a quick sneak peek of the December list. There's going to be a lot of winter themed movies and Christmas, other holidays for coverage of titles on that streaming platform. I don't know why it's cutting off some of that, but like we have the holdovers on there for adults. We added all the Harry Potter movies if you want to have a winter Harry Potter movie marathon. Ice Age, Home Alone. There's some new releases that are going to be on there: Deadpool and Wolverine, The Bike Riders, Dee Dee. And then there's Little Women and Sense and Sensibility. There is that day. I can't remember what that day was in December, but that is one of the programming days in December. And then there's like Nightmare Before Christmas, Muppet Christmas Carol, um, Santa Claus, Tyler Perry's A Medea Christmas, Prancer, a lot of different holiday movies, Olaf's Frozen Adventure, Santa Paws, Santa Buddies, if you're looking for something rated G to play for a winter program. And then there's a few the shorts too, if you're looking for a shorter program. But yeah, there's a good mix on there of different holiday titles and some new releases that are going to be available on the platform. Oh, you're muted.
There's another question about foreign language films.
Oh, yeah.
Um, how many foreign language films do you anticipate on offer at one time and how new?
Yeah, so foreign language films will probably be on there only if they fit a specific programming need. The main issue with foreign language films is because we cover US studios only, the number of foreign language films that we have access to is going to be kind of limited just based on how the licensing is set up. Um, the one good thing, which I will say, is a lot of the titles, especially new releases, do come in alternate language. So if you were looking for a foreign language program, you could actually play like a new release movie with an alternate language track on it with English subtitles. That's kind of a fun way to introduce a language to a program and still give native English speakers the ability to read subtitles. Might help with like language learning programs and stuff like that. A lot of the titles do have every title has subtitles or closed captionings, and most movies have some alternate language tracks. Newer movies tend to have more of those than some of the older ones do, but definitely good option there.
Thank you. It seems like a very straightforward platform, easy to use.
Yeah,
So
we're trying to make it just as simple as possible. And that's one of the goals with 100 titles. It seems kind of like an arbitrary number, but with our licensing, I think right now the access to titles covered under our licensing or available under our licensing is somewhere in the 40,000s. That can make it really hard to pick a title for a specific program or even find new releases, because when you go to our new release page, anytime we get a new title, it's automatically being added there. So sometimes new releases that might fit a program or be popular can be buried on our website just because of the volume of movies. So we're hoping that a smaller selection that's more curated to programming needs will help make it easier to quickly find a movie. And especially as we start to plan those out in advance, you can see, 4, 5, 6 months ahead of time, hey, these movies are going to be on the platform. These movies are the coming up movies on the platform. We should make a program around showing this movie, or this movie fits a program that we already had planned for that month. And that way, you can access it through this platform. And like I said, you can still, we're not saying you can't show any of the other 40,000 movies. This is just a curated collection to help make it quicker and easier to access those movies. And you can access through us instead of having to always have physical media.
so when we're renewing our libraries in 2025, this should be fully available. Yeah, correct.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
We have the plan for the first 4 months of movies. Like I said, there's a few TBD movie slots for new releases, but those are all kind of available.
You have a new question.
Oh yeah.
Do you anticipate titles to be available on rotation each year? Will we only see them for 1 month ever? In particular, holiday movies.
Oh yeah, great question. So I think in total for like a calendar year, there will probably be between 250 and 300 titles that rotate throughout the year. Um, some of them are going to be on there for multiple months. And we also try to time the rotation too in a way that makes sense. Like, for example, some Halloween movies will be on there in October and November, with Halloween being the last day of October. If something gets shifted to November 1st, we don't want that movie to not be on the platform one day after Halloween. And same if there's like a movie that fits a summer reading theme for 2025, that will likely be on the platform for anywhere to 4 to 6 months. So that way you have access to it to use anytime over summer reading. And we'll have those dates. Like I said, we're trying to kind of find the perfect balance of how to get that information available as many places without making it too obnoxious. But we're going to have a place on the website where you can see the movies that will be on the platform throughout the year. We're going to plan on our monthly newsletter for libraries that have the platform. We'll include a section about movies that are going to be available on the platform in the coming months. So that way we'll highlight some new releases or specific programming movies that are going to be added to the platform. And those newsletters, we already send out a cadence that's 4 to 6 months ahead of those programs, because we know that's kind of the planning time frame for most libraries. So we try to get that information out in advance of you needing to kind of get your promotional materials created and sent out.
I do have another pricing question. So the licensings are based on um their registered patrons.
Yeah.
The pricing, is it also gonna kind of be on that sliding scale for
Yes.
streaming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just much more simplified, especially since this is a new offering. We're not going to have a bunch of different brackets. And like I said, it's technically 400, 500, or $600 depending on the service population or registered borrower count of the library. But the way the brackets are set up, 90% of libraries are probably going to fall in the $400 bracket. Um, I think almost all your libraries do fall in the $400 bracket. There might be a few that would be at the $500 bracket for the streaming.
If you can share that with me, I want to send that to the library so they have it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, that was kind of all I wanted to go over. I just wanted to let you guys see the platform, give you some information on how it works, and then if you do want to test it out over the next 2 months, just let Pamela know and she can send me over the information to get you started. Again, all we need is an IP range and the name of your library. And then I can give you access to the portal for all of November and most of December. And then we'll also get the pricing and information if you do want to add that to your licensing for next year.
Excellent. I appreciate your time, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Pam.
Thanks,
Thank
Tim.
you.